next speaker is Grace Jewell. I first met Grace at a place called Kripalu in Massachusetts at a retreat center. And my sister and I were actually there at a yoga meditation retreat, and Grace was our teacher. And honestly, it is such an honor to have Grace here today because she just blew us away. Her description of the power of the heart has stayed with me probably since the class, which was 5 years ago. We often hear the words speaking from the heart, connecting with the heart, or following the heart. But did you know that there's a growing evidence that the heart is the seat of our well-being? Grace joins us today, and she will delve into the power of love and how we can realize the heart's full potential. Grace?
There's a place in your heart, and I know that it is love. And this place is much brighter than tomorrow. And if you really try, you'll find there's no need to cry.
Thank you so much. How many of you feel like you had a thirst for some knowledge, and instead of sort of a water fountain, it's like a fire hydrant hose? You just have, there's tons of information coming towards you. So my interest is I'll share some information about the heart, but I'm mostly interested in your heart in this moment, because that is where harmony and healing actually happens, not just on a sentimental level, but in terms of well-being. So I'll introduce myself briefly and share a little about the heart, but we'll be doing a few experiences, practices that you can take home and really live inside of for a lifetime. And that's where real transformation occurs. So as Tricia was saying, I'm sort of an expert in heart coherence. I was at Kripalu for 20 years teaching anatomy to massage therapists and to yoga teachers. And the actual effort it takes for us to re-enter this temple of the body when we live so much in an exterior world with so many stimulants, and we're located in so many different places. I'm just curious, and this is not to bust you, but in the process of being here, how many of you have texted, emailed, like been somewhere other than here now at some point in this day? Yes. And we're going to do a little meditation to just sort of, again, contemplate the job that our heart does to live in all of these different locations at once. Whatever matters to us, the heart is the satellite dish that's really monitoring this huge galaxy of our world, of all these planets, of people and problems and potential that's orbiting us. And yet we're constantly, pulled by the gravitational field of our consciousness and what's our connection around us. And the heart is really the organ that's managing that huge satellite dish of our soul. And so sometimes it's so much to just try and get back into the heart. So like I say, in teaching yoga for years, the brilliance of yoga, especially if you're blessed to find a mindfulness-based therapeutic approach and not necessarily the athletic approach to yoga that's predominantly available. Whatever kind of yoga you do, and I will say, being at Kripalu for 20 years, it was incredible to see what counted as yoga. And it was everything from lay on blankets and fall asleep yoga, which I really loved. And I had, honestly, one of the most profound openings of my life doing that, to heat and such exertion that you're throwing up. And that's not officially the branding, but we witnessed that occurring in a few instances. So it was pretty interesting to see this huge spectrum. So where was the destination that people were seeking? Where are they trying to get to in these activities? And what's the common denominator? So with yoga itself, what's interesting is if it's the asana, the physical posture, is that whenever we do a yoga posture, we're suddenly creating sensation. And it comes up our little reptilian brain and up our sensory motor system. And it catches our attention because if we're just on autopilot, like right now, you're kind of at the vitality of like a lizard, right? You're just, you've been sitting and listening, and no news is good news, right? But to wake you up, if suddenly there's a sensory motor stimulation of like a stretch, it captures the reptilian brain and it goes into fight, flight, freeze. Am I being impaled by a tiger? Should I run? That primitive brain that we've heard about. So it's a lot harder to be located elsewhere when you've got that input in that moment that says, be here now, or you may fall over in like public humiliation, failure and falling over is like the thing that we avoid more than anything else in the world, right? So our heart gets a chance to come home. When we have that sensation, suddenly it's saying, this is where everything needs to be in this moment. And that's so rare. It's hard to text while you're here. I'm sure someone's done it. I haven't noticed it, but I'm sure someone's done it. So if we're ushered home to this moment, it's a treasure. And guess who's waiting at the door every time? This beloved heart. And it's saying, you know, honey, it's so great to see you. I haven't seen you in ages, you know, like, because so much of our life is spent in two places, either projection or memory. We're either in the past or in the future. And yet, this moment is the only reality right now. This is it. So let's just take a breath in this moment, actually. This is it, right now. We could not wake up tomorrow morning. This is it. So how do we live more here? And when we're in this state, it creates a coherence, literally a measurable wave of the heart that then transmits to other people. And we start to create a field that actually is in harmony with and is here, as opposed to that multitasking slide that I loved with the woman and the donuts and the water and the text. You know, if we're in 60 different places, that's a fractured field for ourselves and for others. And so it really limits the well-being of our internal experience as well as those around us. Now, it's pretty hard with the demanding life that we have to balance. So again, one of the greatest skills is in the yoga I've taught and in the massage is to usher people back into coherence. So what we just did of that one breath is actually the bridge to well-being and to blessing. One skillful breath and recognizing this moment is the moment that we suddenly come back into well-being. So what I'd like to do is actually invite you into a little meditation of your heart so we can drop more deeply into you. There's not going to be a slide. Whenever there's like something projecting, our little reptilian brain is like, there's going to be, you know, maybe it'll be cartoons or, you know, like we have that. So nothing's going to happen up there. Very little is going to happen here. What I want to really focus on is what could happen here in you. So I'd like to invite you, if you're comfortable with your eyes closed, that's a blessing because our eyes take a huge amount of our visual stimulation and sort of readiness for something to happen. So if it's comfortable closing your eyes or just a soft gaze perhaps on the beauty of the vegetables or, you know, just somewhere calming. And if it feels okay for you, you could even bring one hand to your heart, to your chest. And feel with your hand on your heart here that sweet rise and fall of the breath. So how many of you enjoy going to the ocean? It's right here. There's an ocean inside. So breathe in a way that you can feel your hand raise slightly and feel it sink, and maybe your heart's racing, maybe your hand isn't even moving. So if it isn't, how could you slow your breath down and let it become a little more full so that hand lifts slightly, and maybe even hover in that expanse and fullness, and then likewise linger down into the emptying. So can you travel and befriend the frontiers of your breath? Get to know the full expanse. And then use the next few exhales to just let go of any layers of limitation. If you're fatigued, visualize that you're exhaling that away. If you're worried about, oh my God, have the kids totally torn the house up while I'm gone? You know, exhale that away, whatever might be a preoccupation or concern. The exhale is an incredible bridge and blessing for liberation, for letting go. It changes blood pressure, it can change physiology, it can change brain waves. And a full inhale can make room for your interior world. So much of our life we're outside, so a few full inhales here can heal. So can that slow, full inhale make room for your interior world so you can observe? And I'm going to just lead you through a little visualization. So there you are, in this breath, in this body, at this age, with these wrinkles, this stretch mark, this smile, the full etching of your soul's experience on the skin and on the soul. Here you are. And then just feel in your sphere of life those who are most close to you, that you are in that constant interaction, interpenetration of coherence or lack of it. If you're raising teenagers, it's a pretty ambitious thing to have coherence and egos that are naturally going to be pushing back, or employees who might push back. Where is there harmony in your life? And where is there some waves that you may be the one managing the constant effort to get back to alignment? And then sense in your community, people who you interpenetrate with a little less, whether it's a church group you belong to or a cause that you give passion and hours to. Our heart's awareness might be towards Mexico and the very large storm emerging that we're blessed to not be in the wake of, but from Hurricane Sandy and other events, we're fortunate for where we're located. Feeling the rains coming for the California drought that is our food basket. Just feeling the large world that this heart, whether we're conscious of it or not, deep down inside the animal in us has love and care for each other, for this nation, for this world. And that can be heavy-hearted for some of us, or it can create great connections of action and collaboration. And then sense who supports you in your life in creating coherence. Again, whether it's a community group you're a part of, partner, a pet. Where do you lean into to settle and soothe? So take a last few skillful breaths. Again, exhale away if there's any tension from that reflection. Inhale in the blessing of peace and presence we have that we can extend to this world in this moment. And then as you're ready, you can just softly open your eyes and come back out. So can you feel in this room? I mean, it's the end of the day, so there may be some sleepiness, but you also feel that there's a coherence that we've created. And can you feel that there's a difference, that we're in a deeper space? And often it's hard for us as humans to meet as a herd here. And that's, again, what's really fascinating with things like yoga, meditation, being in prayer group together, whatever it is, to drop into this place together. And this is the place of deep healing and coherence. So as I said, the heart has had some wonderful research done by the HeartMath Institute and by many other people. And I'll just share briefly that this book, it's called The Secret Teachings of Plants, is my sort of, if I had one book on a desert island, this would be it. It has a lot of science. I'm an incredible nerd, so this may not be your book. But if you want to know the most poetic description of the potential of the heart, I highly recommend this book. And it's a bit dense, so you have to kind of have a willfulness to breathe through it. The Secret Teachings of Plants. So the first 150 pages of this book by Stephen Brunner, B-U-H-N-E-R, B-U-H-N-E-R, by Stephen Brunner, is truly the most eloquent expression of the heart as this field of coherence. So particularly the HeartMath Institute really looked at using instrumentation, understanding what the heart is. And there's so many studies that are done. So for instance, they looked putting heart monitors on a choir and seeing how their hearts would start to synchronize as they would sing together. Studies of couples discussing a heated topic in their life. And if their heart was able to have coherence, the marriage generally survived. If they didn't have a capacity for heart coherence, typically the marriage would end. So there's on and on these studies that are saying that heart coherence, our ability to have a harmonious wave inside of us, and then the skill of finding others and creating that in between us and our world, is one of the most essential skills in terms of harmony and well-being. So one of the things whenever I'm working with someone as a yoga therapist or a massage therapist is I really see I'm just an educator offering maps, but it's you that's got to hike the mountain. I'm not actually there, the Sherpa, carrying you. I can give you the massage or the yoga, but ultimately you're the one. And so if I'm going to give you a map, I want to know what's the destination you care to get to. And depending on the destination you want, I'll give you a different map. So if the destination is, financial prosperity and confidence, it's one map. If it's healing from ovarian cancer, a different map. So what I know, though, is the most important map is the one that gets us back here to home. Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin was truly a pioneer in terms of all this mind-body medicine research that he was doing it decades before there's now a huge amount of funding and regard. Back then, it was sort of lucky he had tenure and wasn't, possibly sent into the voodoo back office. And so he was doing incredible work. And he collaborated with the Dalai Lama and basically asked if he could send over, 8 of his champion meditators, so these beautiful monks were sent over and had all of these probes, put onto their heads to try and understand health and well-being and mindfulness. And apparently the monks were just giggling the whole time because we were putting the monitor in the wrong spot. That for them, this again is really the synchronizing system for the body. So whether it's the heart's role in synchronizing cells through blood pressure, through the hormones that the heart creates, because the heart does produce hormones, through the oxygen it's circulating, through the sugars, it is an orchestrator on so many levels. But the piece I want to share now is just briefly about the electromagnetic field of the heart. So basically, we have an electric field of the heart. You know that. You can kind of zap and say that's the barrier, but there's also a magnetic field of the heart. They say it's 5,000 times stronger than the brain, but literally we know the magnetic heart, I believe, is limitless. How many of you, if you care about someone and you're on the other side of the world, you can look down and see them call, or how many of you have had that moment where if it matters, we have a magnet of mindfulness between that and between our heart, and that's limitless. So for us, as people who care about our health and about the health of the world and society, it's really about, again, gaining the skill of the heart. So the final thing I want to complete with is another practice. Like I say, I could give you tons of information. You can Google it. You can get it from Secret Teachings. I'd love to give you one last practice because it's through practicing, exercising the magnets and muscles of the heart that actual power and potency, the full potential of the heart is realized. So I'll briefly share this and then we'll wrap up. So this is called metta meditation or loving kindness meditation. And I want to say there's been a lot of mention of meditation. There's the Insight Meditation Society here in Washington, D.C., and particularly Jonathan Faust or Tara Brach, who wrote the book Radical Self-Acceptance. Those are two, she was a speaker previously. So those are two incredible resources. And dear friends, if you need support, look at the Insight Meditation Society in D.C. if you're not familiar with that. But I'd like to complete with a metta meditation practice, again, for us together to be in the potency of the heart. So with metta, you always need to start with yourself, because if you're an empty well, it's pretty hard to actually give water to another if there's none inside of yourself. So it's a beautiful practice from Buddhism, but again, there's no faith limit to anyone practicing this. So again, whether you choose to have your eyes open or closed, I invite you to begin as though you're putting a blanket of compassionate awareness around yourself. And silently and inwardly, I'm going to invite you to repeat these words, not as a wish, abstract and external, but feel the embodied state of what happiness is. You know what that feels like. So when we say, may I be happy, fill with that feeling of happy. May I be healthy. Feel that state of health. May I be peaceful. Feel the state of peace. And may I be free. And freedom may not be something you felt since you were swinging on a swing as a kid, but free. So a few more times inwardly. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be peaceful. May I be free. Now stay with yourself if you're in a place where you need all of the nurturing you can get. If there's a surplus, perhaps extend this metta out to someone else. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. And we can extend that blanket of compassion as far as we wish to our communities, to the many people in migration with conflict and challenges in the world, to our brothers and sisters in Mexico bracing. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be peaceful. May you be free. So let's take a few more breaths. And inhale in like a fountain the fullness of your heart, and exhale this blessing and intention for yourself and for each of us in this room that have invested a day to enhance our health and the health of our communities. And let's use the power of the inner smile, which is the signature of the heart, to receive and send the spirit of blessing to all. If it feels comfortable for you, you can bring your hands onto your heart in any way you wish, just acknowledging that we've adorned this inner temple with our intentions and with the intentions in this room. And thank you again for the organizers of this gathering to enrich us with knowledge and experience to be messengers of the heart. So thank you again.